Hola, hola. Hola, hola. Bienvenidas y bienvenidos a esta tercera sesión del seminario Historia y Naturaleza desde los bosques de Finlandia y Estonia. Nuestro seminario es bilingüe y pues hoy vamos a hablar en inglés. Entonces voy a cambiar de idioma. Welcome to the seminar History and Nature from the Forests of Finland and Estonia. And today we have a guest from Estonia. Thank you very much, Dr. Elle-Mari, for accepting the invitation. And thank you, Daniela Taruni and Daniela Falcon, for all your support with the dissemination of the event and the live transmission through the channels of our school, the National School of Higher Studies, Mérida unit of the National Autonomous University of Mexico. My name is Adi Lazos, and I welcome you to our last session of the seminar. And today we will learn more about Estonia, a country where forests play a crucial role in the life and history of its inhabitants. Just as a quick overview, let me show. Just as a quick overview, to locate ourselves, this map shows Northern Europe, and we can see Estonia, which is neighbor of Russia to the east, of Latvia to the south, and it shares the Baltic Sea coast with Finland to the north. Some quick facts of Estonia: it has a population of 1.36 million people in the whole country. It has an area of almost 45,300 square kilometers. Around 52% of its surface is covered by forests, and it became a member of the European Union in 2004. Their national bird is the swallow, as you can see in this beautiful drawing in the right-hand side. And well, after this very short profile of Estonia, a beautiful and interesting country, I would like to introduce Dr. Elle-Mari Talivee. She is a senior researcher at Under and Douglas Literature Center of the Estonian Academy of Sciences and a researcher at Tallinn University. Her primary research interests involve literary, urban studies, and eco-literature. She has written literary criticism and has co-edited special issues of scientific journals and volumes of commented museum collections. From 2020 to 2023, Elle-Mari Talivee was the Estonian representative of the Horizon 2020 project on environmental humanities, entitled Citizen Science for Environmental Citizenship: Backyard Birding at the Potential for Cultivating Green Engagement, Environment Citizen, which involved 7 European scientific institutions. She's also a birdwatcher, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Elle-Mari, welcome to ENES Mérida.
Thank you for inviting me. It is a real honor. We are very far from Mexico, so I will start with also a little overview about Estonia. I will share my slides.
I will.
Just a moment. Yes. I am planning to talk today about 3 things. First, about the history of Estonia and why forest is so important to us. Then a bit about hobby ornithology or hobby birdwatching, as I am, as Adi already said, I am a hobby birdwatcher myself. And then a quick excursion into Estonian contemporary ecofiction. And first, I will repeat some facts about Estonia. Estonia is a pretty small country also in Europe. Our capital is Tallinn. The official language is Estonian, which is Finno-Ugric, which means we are related to the language of Finland. There are 7 languages close to Estonian in our neighborhood. Estonia has been a republic since 1918, and during the Second World War started 2 occupations. First, the Soviet occupation, when the German one, and in 1945, the second Soviet occupation, and we restored our independence in 1991. We are a small country, and we do not have many things to be rich in, but we are surely rich in forests or forested land. A bit more than half of Estonian territory is covered with forests. The 3 main tree species are pines, spruces, and birches, but we have altogether 51 natural tree species and 30 bush species. And actually, usually this count of territory doesn't count in bogs. We have also very important wetlands, bogs, mires, and swamps. It's about 7% of our territory. And if we Estonians talk about going to a forest, we often mean also walks. And here you can see again where Estonia is situated in a map of North Europe. Our flag is blue, black, and white, and the coat of arms belongs to the historical period when we had the Danish kings in the history. I will outline my talk as follows: about Estonian forest, historical aspects, a bit about forests and bogs, forest and bog wars, then about birders and eco-grief, and literature and how it's expressing the eco-grief. And when I speak about ecological grief, in particular, I mean the change of landscapes, which people can see and feel, and how we talk about it, and what we think about it. And here you can see already the first bird of my presentation. There will not be many. You saw already our national bird, but this is one species which is becoming very rare when we cut down our forests. So it is a species connected to this eco-grief. Here are our most important tree species. Actually, it is hard to find a pure spruce or birch or pine forest in Estonia. Maybe pines. There are many pine forests on the coast, but usually we have a mixed forest and also some broad-leaved forests left. Not many. And here is a map about Estonian forest, how Estonia is covered with forest. Some regions have more of it, and some are more used for example, for agriculture. But if you can see this region, which has number 19 on it, it is a very swampy area. So you can see the swamps already. They have also trees, are not often counted when we speak about forest. Forest means a lot to Estonians. It has ecological meaning as a habitat or environment which is preserved, and it's a carbon stock holder. Then it's social as employer or providing welfare and continuity. It's economically very important as a source of income and also investment opportunity while planting trees and growing trees. And maybe for today, I would very much like to stress the cultural aspect, because forest has been a holy place for Estonians. It is, it has been, and it is still a source of inspiration. And Estonian landscapes or Estonian villages, the houses in an Estonian village are not together, but they are scattered in a landscape, and there have been very many homes in the forests. So forest is often felt also like a home place. And you already saw the flag of Estonia, and nowadays it is often interpreted so, like the sky is blue, the forest in the winter is black, and you can see in the winter land is covered with snow. When the flag was first composed, the white meant more like a hope, but it can also be interpreted as a very nice landscape. Here is a picture of a forested place in Estonia where I come from. I have been there many times as a child, and I go there when I have no free time. And here you can see that parts of Estonia are very prettily covered with untouched forest. One of the reasons about that picture is that this is a nature reserve. It is actually not the trees in this reserve are under protection, but the landscape. The landscape there is very unique, a hilly one, and with some small swamps. But this place of trees is surrounded by fields and regions of agriculture. And here you can see also the smaller lake is surrounded by a bog. And the forest is mixed, very many spruces and birches and aspens and oaks, but you cannot find a pure one species forest here. We have 4 seasons in Estonia, so I will show you some pictures about the same place in different seasons. This is spring. In April, Estonia basically looks like that. We don't have yet leaves on trees. Here it is in summer. Summers are very green when we don't have the heat waves. It depends on summer. Here is the neighborhood of this place in autumn when trees turn yellow, and when they lose leaves. This is this October when the first frosts came, and I think one of the most beautiful times of the year is in Estonia is winter, when it is cold. We have a lot of snow. It has been changing, as you know, because of the climate change and everything, but at least in some years we have over some years we have such kind of snowy landscapes. And here are 2 pictures about the ecosystems of our forests. One is about an old pine forest. You can see how many different animal or bird or insect species can live in an old pine forest. And the other one is about our biggest animals in a forest. And if you remember the pictures I showed you already, also my neighborhood in the countryside has the same species. We have brown bear, grey wolf, lynx, red fox, badger, wild boar, moose, red deer, and roe deer. Maybe wolves and red deers are not so common in this part of the country. And such kind of old forest ecosystems are not just now in a very good shape in Estonia, because deforestation has influenced them a lot. Now, why is forest so important for Estonia? I would say that we have been very long, very much dependent on forest. Estonian villages lie often between the fields and the forest. We have built our houses from wood. This is an old farmstead, and if you can see, almost everything here has been made of wood. We have built other things from wood. This is a bridge on our border river to Russia, and now there is a stone bridge, but in the last century still there was a wooden bridge, and it is not only a good building material, but also very aesthetical building material. We have been a seafaring and fishing nation on the Baltic Sea, so we have built our ships and boats from wood, and we have used tar to make them waterproof. And the tar is also a product of which you can get from the woods. This is also today very important that we use wood for heating. Here is an old photo of Tartu, our university town, in the beginning of the 20th century. And you can see the wood has been brought to the city with help of the river. The men used to raft the logs with help of the river downstream. And here the city people could buy it and take it home. I should have maybe mentioned that wood as a building material is a very good warm building material. Estonian winters are pretty cold, might be 20, 30 degrees minus after Celsius, and wood keeps the house warm. The stone is better in summer. Here you can see how one Baltic German artist has pictured Estonians taking the firewood home from this wood market, perhaps, or in a village. And the Estonians here he has depicted have the national costumes on, and it's from 1820. We have also been dependent on not only the wood, but food we get from the forest. We have always been the berry picking. You can also see here an old picture with children and women picking berries And I think here maybe cranberries and lingonberries have been most important, not only for eating right away, but they were kept for winter, preserved for winter. On the right is one of my favorite berries, cloudberries, which are not so common. We have been picking mushrooms through history. I don't know if it's right, but it is said that it is very deeply a Finno-Ugric tradition, as the Finno-Ugric people have come from the big forests of Siberia and brought this habit of picking mushrooms with them. And here this parasol mushroom is held by an Estonian historian, Linda Kaljundi. And also with mushrooms, you can eat them right away, but you can keep them for winter. And Estonians have had the possibility to hunt in the forests. Here is a brown bear hunt from 1933. And in summer, if you are lucky enough, you can see a bear like on this photograph. It is very rare to see a bear. We have about 1,000 bears in Estonia, which is pretty much actually in a number, but still they are very, very clever, and they try to avoid contact with human beings. And another very important aspect is that we have found a shelter in the forests. This is an old hill foot. It was used during the 12th century, and it was almost inaccessible for the enemy. It was established probably in the 7th or 8th century, and in German chronicles it was mentioned in 1210 as an unconquerable place. They still destroyed it a couple of years later, but it is even nowadays accessible only by foot. It's a 3-kilometer walk away. And you can see here the place is surrounded by myrs, which is, as I mentioned, another important landscape connected to forest or linked to forest. Here is a picture of a myr. You can see it's hardly accessible for a big army with weapons. Here on the photo, my children have gone swimming in a swamp lake, and we have to crawl out to find the way out because it's so wet and so soft. And another historical picture about the shoes they use in the swamp to move around. The last time the forests and the swamps were used as a refuge was during the Second World War. These people were called the Forest Brothers. It was a guerrilla war in the Baltic states, and it was it started already with the first Soviet occupation. It was and it went long into the second Soviet occupation. People went to hide first from the war and from being listed in the German or Red Army. And later on, when the Soviet occupation started, many people were killed or deported, and they tried to go and hide themselves in a forest. Here you can see a map from the Soviet Security Service, which also shows how many forests have been that time in Estonia. And it was then possible to go there and find refuge. And here is also one drawing about how they built the bunkers in the forest to live in. And not only young men, but also sometimes they took their families with them. Here you can see also an historical photo of a young girl. And now I will kind of skip the Soviet years. Then we had a Boer War, as the Soviet authorities did not care much about the local nature. But still in the 1970s, when too many bogs or swamps were dried to grow forest, there was a kind of uh, um, opposition which was led by Estonian biologists, and it resulted in creating some bog reservations or conservation areas, and it is now called the Bog War. But since um, um, the new independence from 1921, we have had a kind of forest war in Estonia. And my colleagues Atko Remmel and Tõnno Joonuks have written an article which is forthcoming about the trope of Estonians as forest people. And it was a trope that appeared in the 1980s, and it has developed through the 40 years of New Republic. It has been an interaction. There has been an interaction between the revived pagan beliefs and also the culture, the way the writers and artists and the general society talk about the forest. When I say pagan belief, I must explain that it is a kind of old belief connected to our ancestors, believing that God lived in forest. And it is more like borrowing their habits from that time. And today this trope, Estonians as forest people, is one of the cornerstones of Estonian society. And the main ideas are that nature is a carrier of national heritage, and it is the basis for the endurance of Estonian culture. It means a kind of environmentalism, anything from general closeness of nature to environmental activism. It is quite similar to some of our neighboring countries like Germany, Finland, Sweden, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland. And there is a problem. Estonia as a state, as a protector of national culture and its important part nature, is not able to live up to its subjects' expectations. I must remind here that the state owns 51% of forest in Estonia, and other percents belong to private owners. And since 2016, we can speak more of real forest war. It started with the protests against the amendment of the Forest Act to lower the age at which trees could be felled. And the results are that, for example, there are some NGOs established to protect the local nature, but also they have cooperation with global organizations like Greenpeace type environmental organizations. And the local initiatives have names which connect them to forest, like Eesti Metsa Abiks, Estonian Forest Aid, or Save Estonian Forests, or Päästame Eesti Metsad. And also younger people have taken part in this NGOs. We have branches of Fridays for Future or the Extinction Rebellion, but they are more like putting it into global context. And this is now often the picture you see when you go out to a forest, and it is this picture which makes many people in Estonia really sad. I had in a couple of years possibility to research how people who nowadays go for many times to a forest as bird watchers, who are doing some kind of counting project every year, and ask them how they feel about the changes taking place in landscape. And we did these interviews over Europe, but I would say that in the case of Estonia, this forest context was very obvious. The people going often to a forest um, repeated that they are very worried about the changes in landscape, uh, uh, which they had known for a long time. Mm. They, of course, knew also the contexts. For example, in recent decades, the forest bird numbers in Estonia have declined by a minimum of 50,000 pairs per year, and this is mainly due to a loss of forest habitat. And birders are a stakeholder group which is interested in preserving the habitats, as we care about birds, often also about the well-being and conservation of birds, even if they are not actively involved in conservation or citizen science projects. But still, from my informants, many of them were involved in doing something for nature. And I would say that some of them had newly learned about this maybe lost connection with forests. And I learned a lot about their worries, the changing landscapes. They have often known the same routes or areas for a long time, so they have become personally attached to these regions. They say that they have noticed the disappearance of birds in numbers or in species, and it is often expressed in something they do in order to handle the situation or even to improve it. Here are some examples on the slide. One man who talked to me is every January he is looking for eagles' nests. He says that these are the best days of his year. In Estonia, the law says that if you find an eagle's nest in your forest, this part of forest is taken under conservation. So you cannot go there, you cannot use it, and the compensation methods are not so good, so it sometimes creates anger with the owners. When he's engaged in several conservation projects, he is engaged in popularization, and which one thing what he said that he and his friends in a village have bought a forest together. The purpose of buying that forest was to keep it standing. They have no economical interest in this part, but they just wanted to be there. And a lot in their interviews, also parts concerning the use of agricultural land, were clearly talking about this eco-grief and the ways they tried to find a way out of it. Here are some quotations from interviews. One young informant compares the map or the aerial photos of Hiiumaa, her home island, to a rag kilt. She means that there is no big forest there anymore, no untouched place, just the clear-cutted areas divide the island. And as we know the forest birds very well, they can also tell which species are not seen so much anymore. Now I will show you the Estonian national animal. It was chosen in 2018. It's the Eurasian wolf. I think we have about 30 wolf packs in Estonia, which means about 300 wolves. But also the biologists say that it's very hard to estimate the number of wolves really, because they move a lot and they are avoiding contact with people, except they sometimes go and they have conflicts with the farmers, but it's not very clearly known how many wolves we actually have. And now I will switch to literature, because in one of his books I want to tell about, and in one poem, this grey wolf is very important part of a book. Here you can see one of the most famous Estonian writer nowadays. It is Andrus Kivirähk. In 2007, he wrote the book The Man Who Spoke Snakish. It has already been translated into 18 languages. The story is actually pretty simple. It is about the medieval Christian Europe, and there is a little nation of forest people whose members have so far survived thanks to their knowledge of the snake words. We have only one poisonous snake in Estonia. This is the adder, and they know how to be friends with others. And they are also friends with bears, although bears in this novel are not very clever, but they are lustful companions. And I think most important thing about this book is that it is about these forest people gradually losing its identity. They lose the ties of the forest, may move, in the novel, they move out of the forest. They start to grow cereals, rye, they start to make bread. This is also a very funny and humorous book, although it's deeply tragic. And the protagonist who is telling the story, he's named Leemet, and he's the last one who has this connection with the forest so deeply. And several critics already then pointed out that it's a kind of eco-novel, and it tells a story of a people who used to live in a forest, knew it, and did not harm it. They used it very sparingly. Then they moved out of the forest and lost the ties they had with it, and they began to use it as a poor resource. And in 2022, the same writer, Andrus Kivirähk, wrote a novel, Flight to the Moon. where the main character is uh, um, space traveler who has come to to the Earth and decided to visit his old friends he has not seen for years, and it's an extremely comical but sad story. And here I would say this is even more environmental book as The Man Who Spoke Snakish, as there is a big grey wolf, perhaps the last not yet shot by the hunters, who drags this space traveler or astronaut all around the world and tells him about humankind's feats in destroying the environment. Um, I have for you one um, little passage from the book of Andrus Kivirähk, which has already been translated also into Spanish in 2017. You can read it. And it is again about this losing the ties with the forest. And maybe instead of concluding, I will show you another poem by a young poet of Estonia, Triin Paja, who has a poem Clear Cutting. She has written it only in English. There is no Estonian language version of that. And here are some images which very clearly show the loss of forest. And the story about this poem is that in Latvia, which is close to Estonia, a man operating a harvester or a tractor which clears the forest films a wolf saving her offspring from under felled trees and rubbish. Deforestation is becoming a wider issue each year, uh, as the author says, and it is not rare to read news about barren and confused uh, animals amidst deforestation. And Triin Paja has also written that there is a deepening fear and anxiety in us as our small countries, hailed for their gold forests and wildlife, follow the route of many other European countries, which leads to forests stripped bare and much of the wildlife gone extinct. And her poetry is expressing very clearly this anxiety and also grief. And one of the images in this poem which maybe struck me most is first of all this comparison with the bombed city. As you know, we are almost neighboring the Ukraine, for which Russia has started this full-scale war. But the last passage of the poem is also very strong, as the she-wolf tells about the wind being the largest room she knows. And this is one of the problems which comes together with deforestation. Um, the, um, the trees which are not felled, they cannot stay lonely. The wind will break them, and the wolf somehow describes the room which has only wind in it. And I will try to let the poet herself to read this poem.
Clear cutting. In Latvia, a charcoal wolf with fur like smoke rescues her cubs, bundled under felled trees, masked in the emerald potsherds from trees tall as lighthouses, now stumps, marred root, nest dust. One by one, she carries her children, grasping them gently with her young moon teeth. She could be a silver-haired mother, digging for her children in a bombed city. The wind is the largest room she knows, and it is growing.
So thank you. I think I will finish here.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Elle-Mari, and it's a very moving poem, very full of emotion. And thank you so much for all your very, very interesting points in the presentation. And well, thanks for sharing. I cannot stop saying thanks. We have some comment here, so I will show it here from Wendy Sanchez. She says, "Good morning. I know very little about Estonia, so thanks so much for this presentation." As we were talking before, Elle-Mari and I, before the conference, we feel that we are very far away, right, Mexico and Estonia, but still this is a very nice way to get to know each other better and to know more about these beautiful places and so interesting, rich in history. And we can wait for some more questions, but I would like to ask some things. First, I'd like to know, because it was not that clear for me, which are the main causes of deforestation in Estonia nowadays?
I think the main reason is export. Exporting for both using it for heating and for building wooden houses all over Europe. It's not so much even for our own use, but for export, yes.
Yeah, I see. And do you have mainly like plantation forests or natural forest?
Um, yes, it's so hard to say. I tried to check all those figures multiple times, and it is said that 51% of Estonia is land covered with forest. But how much is the old forest? It's only a couple of percent of that. The really old forest, really untouched forest. About 12% of the forest is under protection, several reasons, as conservation areas or national parks. And also with, as I mentioned, when you find an eagle nest, it goes automatically under protection. But we have many regions with plantations or planted forest. But as you, I think it's said so that you cannot plant a forest, you can plant trees. It takes so much time, the ecosystem, to develop and grow.
Oh, I see. I see. Thank you. And well, about I didn't know this term of eco grief. Okay, so sorry, I will show another comment from the audience, from Wendy Sanchez. Thank you, Wendy, for your comments. In Mexico, there is an academic reflection about the controversy between original property as the power of the state and biocultural heritage as the power of the people. From your perspective, how can these paths be harmonized?
Mm. Yes, it's partly the same here. In partly the same here. The same problems rise again and again. Like some people think that the state has to decide how to act, and we kind sometimes forget that uh, at least half of the forest in Estonia is owned by private owners, and maybe their ecological knowledge about forest as an ecosystem is not enough. But how can this path be harmonized? It's very hard to say. Um, I know that mm, one of Estonian leading ecologists tries to find a way uh, to explain the need of taking care of the forest, of the old forest, with the help of these cultural texts, like novels or artivism or songs. And one battle in this forest war was won by with the help of culture. Um, in 2020, there was to be built a very big paper mill downstream Tartu, downstream Emajõgi River, and this was when people got together. There was even a human chain made on the bridges of Tartu. And when the artists and writers and important cultural figures all said something about preserving a forest, not building up this huge paper mill, and then it was a success. But it was only one mill. It all these battles have also the result that we have won the battle. Now we can forget it for a while. So I don't know the answer actually.
Yeah, it's a hard one, but it's very nice that you bring about art as a possibility as well.
Mhm.
We have another question from Wendy. Where can I find the paper about heritageization?
Yes, about this Atko Remmel and mhm. I can
Maybe
maybe.
we can, maybe if you could please, Elle-Mari, share with us these references, then we can send it to the audience.
Yes, I might have something else to add because yes, that's a good idea. And thank you for your good words about Estonia. I would like to show you around if you come to Estonia. Yes,
Let's all go to Estonia. Thank
yes.
you,
If
Wendy.
you
So,
have a
we,
possibility.
yeah, and about this part of art, because you studied literature, right? We were talking
Yes.
about that,
Mhm.
so that's a very interesting crossing, as we said before, between forests and literature also. So it's so interesting how historical fiction is also playing a role on this consciousness about environment. And I am really willing to read Andrus Kivirak. Do you have any other author as a recommendation of these topics?
Um, I think he's very good to start, and
Right.
um, there is some very good eco poetry. from a bit younger generation, like they are in their 30s. I can also share links to their poems. For example, we have one very good eco poet called Maarja Pärtna, and she has at least some of her poems in English. It has been published in England also. So
nice.
maybe I can also make a list of reference.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Yes, thank you. That will be nice. And also nowadays it's not that difficult to translate from any language practically.
Yes, if you have the
With
text, yes.
ChatGPT or something like that. At least to have an idea of what it says.
But
Even if
still, you lose something from language, I would say.
yeah, yes, of course. Of course, the importance of the language. Just I was saying just to for us to understand. Anyway, the translation of a poem is very difficult. But let's go with Martin Fricke, which is also our colleague. And what is the preoccupation about forests in Estonia? That they are disappearing or that they are changing? Say that old forests are giving way to new plantations?
Um, I would say that a couple of years ago, it was like many people were very much worrying that the old forests will disappear. Only the ones will stay which are already under conservation. But now I have seen that there is a little change, and maybe we can save more old forests. But we have, of course, many new plantations.
I see. Hmm. Also, the diversity is much less in a plantation than in an old forest,
And it's
right?
very
Like in
poor
terms of
plantation.
of animals, of plants, of everything. Mhm. Thank you, Martin, for your question. Um, I didn't know. It's the first time that I listened to the term eco grief, and I feel very moved because I I usually feel it. And here at our university, we have many undergraduate programs related to the environment, such as environmental sciences, earth sciences, ecology, applied geography. So our students are very sensitive to these topics. And I am sure that also students and the whole community, right? The professors, everyone, is like we are aware of our environment, and I think I can say that we all feel this eco grief in our country and anywhere, right, in the world. And
Yes,
it's I mean, uh, approaching to the art, such as literature, where they recognize the emotions very much different from maybe hard science that they do not deal with emotions very much, but art does. And grief is a very very strong emotion, right?
yes,
So literature gives place to this eco grief, but at the same time it can be very sad. So how can we deal with that to be like sensitive to nature, to the destruction of the planet, but at the same time not not stay in that sadness state, because from there it's difficult to do something. So what would
yes,
you say about that?
yes. I have quite the same thoughts because sometimes if we are very sad, I think it kind of paralyzes us. We cannot do anything more. And I often have heard that, especially young people have this eco grief or eco stress about this climate changes or the world changing very, very badly. They are only young people. And this is maybe why I cherished so much these experiences of the bird watchers, because they all had something in mind. What can I do to prevent it? Maybe uh, maybe while dealing with eco grief, there must always be this attempt to think, what can I do now, or something like that. Because I also want to end every time with something positive. I cannot live very sadly.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I see. Yeah, indeed. That's why bird watchers are so special people. I think because they are willing to wake up very early just to watch some birds, and it's nice that what you say, that it's not only this feeling but also action,
Yes.
as
Mhm.
what you said. I will quote yourself, quote what you said: from hobby to mission, right? So it's not only a hobby but also a mission of conservation, and that's very
Mhm.
beautiful. We
Mhm.
have another comment here from Ruben Lazos Martinez. Thank you, Dr. Talivee, for your quite inspiring conference. So
Thank
you
you.
have you have many people listening to you, Elle-Mari, and just do you have any last thoughts that you could share with us?
Mm. Yes, I kind of want that the things what I said wouldn't create more eco grief, but would call us to action in not in only in Estonia but all over the world.
Mhm.
Just to understand more of nature, to try to interpret it in different ways, also in literature or art, which is, I think, very a tool which can have very much influence.
Mhm.
And also in real life, going home by bicycle today.
That's an action also, right?
A small action, but still. Mhm.
That's very nice. We have another question. If you allow me, I will read it. Um, Historical from Martin Fricke. Historically, have forests always had a positive connotation in Estonia? I understand that in other parts of Europe they have also been seen as a threat in the past as dark and dangerous places.
Yes, we have had this side as well. And actually, I told a bit about these forest brothers or the guerrilla movement. They lived in the forest for at least a decade after the war. And they were not, um, even if they were initially maybe uh, very good people, life in the forest sometimes made them also evil. They had to get food from the farmhouses. They went there and sometimes made horrible things. They had to fight with the Soviet power who came to get them out from the forest. And this was the time when people were a bit afraid of forest also. And I would say that nowadays people are very much afraid of the forest because they do not know forest anymore. Even with berry picking and mushroom picking, I would sadly say that it belongs to a generation of my mother, but not so much to the younger generation.
Wow.
So yes, we have had this side as well, and we still have.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's because usually, well, in many places, forest and the jungle here, maybe tropical forest, were also places to hide in times of war or in times of conflict. But it's not easy to to live there. There are many dangers as well, and also this perception of forest. I can remember maybe Robin Hood in the Sherwood Forest, or some other even fairy tales, right? That where forests are dangerous places, like Hansel y Gretel. I don't know the in English the names of these fairy tales, but they are mostly European. Um, but well, that's another topic to that we could explore. Uh, of this of the forest in literature, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I think we don't have any more questions, and I just want to thank you, Elle-Mari. It was a very nice pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much. I hope we can uh, do more things, collaborate, or when you want to, if you want to come bird watching to Yucatan, you're more than welcome. And thank you for all the audience for your patience, or also the change in time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for attending the seminar. Thank you, Elle-Mari, and ok, gracias a todas y todos por su asistencia a este seminario. Con esta sesión terminamos y pues les mandamos un fuerte abrazo. Muchas gracias a nuestra invitada. Gracias Dani Taruni, Diana Falcón por todo el manejo de los controles en la transmisión. Y bueno, pues seguimos en contacto y como quedamos, la doctora Elle-Mari nos va a compartir algunas de estas referencias. I'm saying that you will be sharing with us some of these references to know more about Estonia and Estonian forests. Y muchas gracias. Hoy aprendimos un poco más del bosque de Estonia y de Estonia misma. Gracias. Y
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
thank you so much and have a nice day. Bye.